Just a disclaimer, this video could be a little sad and depressing at times. We suffered a few losses at the beginning of 2017, and that's where this video picks up at. I debated whether or not to include them, but they were a major part of our life and how things really changed drastically, how our plans for the house changed, and there would be a huge gap of time that would be missing had I not explained what was going on. And this is our journey. It's not just about the house. So if that kind of thing is upsetting to you, you can click off, I don't mind, or fast forward to them. In the House of Chill. I'm back with part 2 of my series House to Home, Our Journey. If you've not seen part 1, I'm going to put an iCard up here somewhere so you can click on that and go watch that video and get caught up to part 2. Part 2, I'm starting where I left off in the last video, which was Christmas 2016. We had our small 4-foot Charlie Brown tree that I bought at Dollar General sitting on a dresser in our living room, which was the easiest thing to clear off to put a tree on. We had a dinner. We sat around and watched movies and just enjoyed time as a family. It was really tough. It was our first Christmas without my mother-in-law, Gail. She was the queen of holidays. I mean, she went all out, blinking necklaces, the whole nine. And it was really hard, that first Christmas without her. And our father-in-law, there's issues there that I'm not even going to get into, and he chose not to be with us for Christmas. So we had a great Christmas with our little bitty tree, which I still put up. People ask why I put up 3 Christmas trees. That 3rd Christmas tree was our first Christmas tree in this house, and every year it goes up above the stairs. It goes up to the landing in between those stairs and the attic stairs. And it faces out to a window, and I will insert a picture here. So, we had a great Christmas. That next week, we had 3 dogs at one time, and one was baby boys. Dan's cousin couldn't say his name, so she called him Davy Doys, and we just kind of gave him the nickname Davy D. I got him when he was 3 years old. Some kids, neighborhood kids of a coworker was beating him with sticks and he was biting, and her husband was going to shoot him, and I absolutely couldn't stand for that. So I went and got him and brought him home, and he was with us for 14 years. Had he made it to March of 2017, he would have been 18 years old. But on that week between Christmas and New Year's, we noticed that his health, I mean, he wasn't doing that great anyway, but his health was just getting worse. He would go around in circles like he didn't know where he was, which he probably didn't. He wasn't eating. He wasn't being himself at all. So on December 30th, which happened to have been my in-laws' anniversary, I said, as terrible as 2016 is, if we gotta do something, I'm doing it before the new year, because I'm leaving all this bad, the loss of Dan's mom, the breakdown of the family, the loss of our house, all that, I'm leaving it in 2016. So about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we went to the vet, and the vet said that we didn't have many options. He was in kidney failure, he had dementia, which at the time I didn't know a dog could get, and many other things. He was riddled with arthritis. He was almost 18 years old, and so we had to make that decision. And New Year's came along. New Year's Eve was still a little rough because that was my mother-in-law's birthday. We had a great New Year's, and when the clock struck midnight, we said we are leaving all the crap in 2016 on with 2017, it's going to be an amazing year. So we thought. We spent all of January still unpacking the house and running back and forth and getting stuff from the old house. 20 years of stuff, you accumulate so much. It's amazing how much you can accumulate in 20 years. My husband had a whole shop he had to move. Plus he was still working, 5 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day. So everything was going good in January. We were going to get the house all settled as much as we could before we started on any major project. And then in the end of January, I went to the doctor for just a regular checkup, and my phone was blowing up while I was talking to the doctor. And so immediately after the doctor left, I called. It was my niece, Nicole, who was calling. And I answered, and she just started screaming that Auntie is dead, which would have been my sister. She passed away from having a seizure and choking on her own vomit. My sister had been an epileptic all of her life. Never had any issues like that. It was really sudden, unexpected. Again, my mother... I have 3 sisters, and my sister Emily and I were probably the closest. She was the oldest. By the time I came around, she had already had kids. I have a niece older than me. So she sometimes acted more like a second mom to me than a sister. But I was really, really close to her. And I got through that. In February, we started in on the shower. If you remember in the last video, we had a really odd shower concept, awkward bathroom setup. And so now I will show you a series of pictures as we dismantled the shower. So we got the shower removed, and what we thought would be a weekend project turned out to be several weekend projects because they built this shower like a bomb shelter. They had 6 screws on the top to the header of the wall and on the bottom. They had brackets. We had an entire bucket full of screws before we were done with the shower, and we had burned up 2 screw guns doing it. So we were in the middle of finishing up the laundry room, painting it and whatnot, and trying to figure out where I was going to place my mom when she was going to move in here, when we found out that Daniel's uncle had passed away. It really wasn't a shock because he was in the nursing home, but I spent many days out at his house taking care of him after he had had his first stroke. My husband was extremely close to him growing up. So that was another gut punch. Not unexpected, but wow, right after my sister and now Dan's uncle. So we had, once again, another funeral with Uncle John. We weren't doing anything with the house project-wise because we were spending time with family. We had his funeral. At the funeral dinner, my mom called me and told me she had fallen. Worst nightmare because I was back in the same town in which I used to live, and I had to drive 15 miles to get to her. She said that she wasn't hurt enough to need an ambulance or anything, so I booked it back here, and when I got to her house, she was not in good shape. She was not tracking well. She was talking about things that made no sense. I called the ambulance. She then was in the hospital for about a week, and she had fallen twice while she was at the hospital. And as I was going over to her house to kind of get things, things that she needed at the hospital and, shut off her oxygen and clean up her dirty dishes and whatnot, I noticed that my mom wasn't paying her bills and was hoarding things that were odd. And I'm thinking, I don't know if it is safe for her to come back home and live on her own, even with me living 2 minutes away. So I discussed with her about going and living at the nursing home until we got a place for her here. So on March 4th, I admitted her into the nursing home. The entire month of March into April was just a blur. I had to pack up 10 years of my mom's life in her apartment, clean her apartment, turn over the keys, move all of her stuff over here, and then move what stuff she wanted into her apartment. I also had to purchase a lot of things for her because when you go in the nursing home, you have to spend down money. And so I was running back and forth to town, getting different things. It was like nonstop go until probably mid-April. So she was doing well at the nursing home. I had done packed everything up. It was all over here. Her room was all set up. I was trying to go through stuff and get it put somewhere because we were almost back to square one, like when we moved in here, because she had so much stuff. And so we had to get that all organized and out of the way before we could go on with even finishing the laundry room, which is what we were doing at the time that this all happened. And all of her belongings was in our laundry room, in fact, packed in totes clear up to the ceiling, 4 totes wide. So I had a lot of work to do. And then my birthday on April 23rd, my best friend paid for me to go with her to Ohio to her daughter's house, who also has the same birthday as I, and we are 10 years apart. And I spent 6 days in Ohio for my 40th birthday. I prepped my mom for this for weeks, that I was going to go do this. I had the girls go check on her. I had Dan go check on her. Everything was fine. I got home. The night I got home, I called her and told her I was home, but it was kind of late for me to come visit her. I'd see her the next day. I went up the next day. She was having panic attacks, just one after another after another. And I'm like, Mom, what's wrong? And she would not tell me. And so they sent her via ambulance to our local hospital. She was very non-compliant with oxygen. She had a pulse of 217 at times, going into cardiac issues. And they transferred her via ambulance to a bigger city with a bigger hospital. While we were there, the doctors came in and told me that my mom was only functioning on 4% of her lungs. And that he gave me our options, which was keep her at the hospital there, which she was not having at all. She did not want to be there. Just send her back to the nursing home or send her back to the nursing home on hospice. And I looked at my mom and I said, what do you want to do? And she said, I want to go home. So she came home to the nursing home on hospice. She passed away May 11th, 2017. It wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't supposed to happen. She declined so fast and I wasn't prepared. I don't think you're ever truly prepared. She passed away on the 11th. My daughter Michaela graduated from high school on the 13th. We had her funeral on the 17th. And my oldest daughter Ariel turned 21 on the 19th. So we get through May, which was the hardest month ever. And the beginning of June, I get bit by a spider and ended up going septic and was sent to the hospital. I was in the hospital for a week. I had to have surgery. I was really close to being deathly ill. And during this time, we had our last loss of 2017. My husband's cousin's husband committed suicide. We unfortunately couldn't be there with the family for this sudden unexpected death because I was in the hospital exact same time this happened, actually fighting for my life because I was extremely septic. But by the end of that week, they had cleared up the infection. They had removed all the bad stuff from the spider bite, and I was sent home. Finally, after 6.5 months of death, we were good. Life was going to get back on track. So we came home and we started putting a new roof on our house, which was a little bit scary. One, the price, because have you seen the size of my house? It costs a pretty penny to get people to go up there. And two, the price of the shingles, good lordy. Anyway, so we started shingling the house, and here's that. We had them going on the roof. My husband was tearing off the porch. And what do? I messed up my foot and had to have foot surgery. Maybe it was just to get out of work. I don't know. But at this point, I was tired of surgeries and doctors. I'll tell you that. So here are pictures of me sitting in the sunshine with my foot up, watching everybody work. Out the summer with getting the roof done and getting the porch all done, and by fall we decided to take a little bit of break on doing projects. We had to save up some more money to start the next one, plus we had to get my daughter prepared for her freshman year of college and get her into her dorm and all of that. And so that's where I'm going to end this video for now, and part 3 will have a whole bunch of renovations in it because life started becoming a lot nicer to us.